Okay, I'm recording the presentation. Why is it? Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, this is what we're gonna, okay, this is what I'm gonna do with you all today. Identify gap from LR based on topics. Okay. Now, I will assume that all of you have a topic. All right, we will talk about it later. You all have a topic. Now, what are the types of topic? I'm going to give you an example. We see all these topic as what we call as working title. Yeah, you have a title for your proposal, and it is a working title. What would be, and what we need to do is that we want to find the topics around this area. Okay, we want to find the area of concern around this area. How do we identify the topics or area of the concern in your studies? I give you an example of a working title. These are all your senior that has completed their FYP project. But of course, I don't give you the current one. This is optimization using binary particle swarm optimization. There's another example, garden water irrigation process using neurofuzzy system. And another example, analyzing the telecommunication alarm fraud detection using neural network and fuzzy logic. Now, this is, for them, it's not a working title. At the time when you're doing it, it's a working title. This is already a published title. Now, what can you see? There's a familiarity in this title. What you can see is that you see there's a pattern here. The pattern is that the domain that they are working on, and also the techniques that they are using. Okay, you see the pattern is that again, the domain and the techniques. Okay, this is shown in the title. Okay. Now, what we need to do for the next step in order for you to come up with your problem statement, problem objectives, research objectives, research question is that I want you to create a theoretical framework. I've already mentioned to you, when we create a theoretical framework, it is very important that you have enough papers. I've mentioned about the amount of papers, right? How many papers? Anybody can remember? About how many papers? 50 papers?
50
papers?
50.
No?
50.
Yes, 50.
Okay, about 40 to 50 papers, right? Papers,
Yes.
it can mean that books, it can mean from even articles, even newspaper clips, but you don't need to have a lot of that. You are allowed only about 3 to 4 of that kind from. Kasi mami using it. Sorry, interruption. Okay, so now from these papers that we are looking at, then we are going to have to look at how do we want to create what we call as a theoretical framework, which is like what I mentioned here. Theoretical framework is a type of intermediate theory that attempt to connect all aspects of inquiry. Example, from problem definition, the purpose, the literature review, the methodology, the data collection, analysis. So you can see that at each point of your proposal, you actually can have a lot of papers that connect each point. Yeah. And this each point will represent your technical knowledge, which is the research, techniques. Yeah, the techniques that you're using. It can also represent the research background, the personal experience, and also about data, because all of us are going to have to use data, right? You need to have data, in particularly those who are using qualitative data. Okay, not I think we have talked about qualitative and quantified data. For example, I give you an example. I take one of the problem that I mentioned, one of the title I mentioned earlier, that is online signature pattern optimization using binary particle swarm optimization. You can see here that there is a theory here that is something new which you have to read, which is, you can also call it as a domain. We call it as online. In this case, it will be on signature. But the signature that the person is doing here is on online, because you have offline signature and you have online signature. So, but it's very specific that the student mentioned that he is looking at online signature. So you need to actually get a lot of papers that give you some ideas about what is it all about. Yeah. And then there is also method. In method, you can go for general to specific. In this case, the general, if you look at the title talks about optimization. So in general, every methods that is available in optimization, you need to look at it. But it's many, right? You will be saying that it's too many. How many should you be putting in your literature review, or how many should you read in order for you to have some idea of what you want to do? So basically in optimization, probably you can look at 5 methods that is available for you to put in in your literature review. Okay. So in general, it's optimization. When you go specific, you will go to PSO, and then you will go to bind. In his case, he's talking about binary, and there are so many other techniques that is available in optimization, in which you can also have a look at it. So this is how the formation of your theoretical framework will look like. Okay, the idea of how you actually build your theoretical framework. Now, how do we identify what is next after that? Once we know this, what do we do next? Now look at the probability of the weakness and the further works, such as the accuracy and performance. I give you an example of a table in front of you now. This is a work that people did on looking at image to detect an image, right? So when they do that, they have 3 types of images. One, they classify the image into normal, adenoma image, and also the carcinoma image. The carcinoma image, this is what they call cancerous image. Yeah, one normal image. There is adenoma image and adenocarcinoma image. So when they did this, they give the correct detection, false detection, and they give the percentage of correct detection. You can see that the performance that they give here is 97.8 for normal and so forth. And basically, you can see the performance that they show is about 90% and above. It's 95% and above. So how can you improve this? Right? Can this still be a question? Can this still be a problem that you want to identify to solve? Yes, because you want to improve the percentage that is given here. Even though it's 95% is quite good, but you can still use this as a motivation for your project, and as a reason for you to move forward and use another method or improve on the method that they are using in order for you to get a better percentage. Okay. Now, how do we design a theoretical framework? The way we design, there are many ways of designing a theoretical framework. There is flowcharts, there's 3 diagrams, there's shape-based triangles, overlapping circles, concepts that you can use. I'm not detecting, I don't want to dictate you on which design that you should use, but it is up to you on which is familiar and more comfortable for you to use. I'm going to give you one example of mind maps. There's another way of designing the theoretical framework is through mind maps. This is an example of a mind map. Yeah, you will see that in one of your assignment, they ask for you to actually map out these findings that you get from the literature review. Okay, in which I call it theoretical framework. So this is one example of how you can show what you have, what are the things that you are going to study, what are the topics that you found through the literature review. In this case, it's about traveling, and you see that it branched out to many, you know, important points in traveling. For instance, they are looking at type of tourists, they are looking at the types of tourism that's available, social contingency theory. This is a theory that they're looking at into travel. What are the types of theory that is available that, you know, helps traveling? And then they talk about post-structuralism, they talk about post-modernism. This is all the methodology or the theory that is available. And then they look at how people are being connected through travels, methods of types of travelism. For instance, can it be cruise? Can it be, you know, any other type? What type of impact and what type of tourist? And then you can see that how it impacts the environment, people, and also the culture, and how from the culture it impacts what are the advantages and the disadvantages for mass tourism. So this is one example of a mind map which you can use in order for you to features your own work. Yeah. How do we develop this mind map? How do we develop this theoretical framework? There are many ways of doing it. This is a pieces of it's not conceptual framework, theoretical framework, which researchers will provide a structure to develop the in order for them to develop the structure, they identify a few things that is needed. The first thing is that they look at keywords. Yeah, identify the keyword used in the subject area of your study. You draw out the key things within something you have already written about the subject area. Take one key concept, idea or term at a time and brainstorm all the other things that might be related, that go back and select, and then you go back and select the next concept or the next idea, and then you build there your three, and you see, you know, there will be a bigger branch of notes that representing the idea that you are doing in your project. Okay. Whichever is used will take time and a number of iteration, and the focus is both in the content and interrelationships. Yeah. Now, how do you conduct this? Step one, the way you conduct is that you know basically what is the title that you're looking at, yeah? The problem that you want, and then you look at the research problem, the sub-problem to identify more specific keywords. You have to brainstorm your research problem, write the sub-problem and research question that will help to solve this, to solve them. And then you identify narrower topics which need to read more in order for you to conduct your research. You find keywords, I've mentioned just now, then you locate the literature. Now we talk about literature. Make sure that your literature is a reviewed literature. I've already, Alhamdulillah, it's good for us. The few weeks before the COVID, we actually had, we look at papers, right? There were papers shared by your friends, and then we discuss about it. And then I talk about some of the sources, available sources and reliable sources for you to work it out as your literature. So you start looking for related sources with these keywords, and then you arm with keywords, you can start searching all related in online databases, which is a peer review, which now I think they allow you, even our library gives you the online facilities in order for you to access it online. And then you identify the materials that you want to read through databases and library catalog. Step 4, you make searches with specific keywords in different types of catalog, and then keep track of this search so that you will not repeat the same search again and again. Step 5, create the list that you desired, yeah, and keep that you can keep. We have talked about that. How do we do that? We said that the best way is that to look at the title, if there is some similarity or there's some important, because now just now we have looked at methods, we have looked at domain. So this, you know that this is the domain that you're looking at. So then you look at the title suits you, and then you look at your abstract, you look at the intro, and you look at the conclusion. We have mentioned about that. So this is the way you want to identify whether this is a desired source and worth for you to keep to update in your own list. Yeah. Step 6 is to find your source. Now, when you find the source, please make sure that you keep the whole the citation of the paper. The citation of the paper must have the author name. It must have all authors, not like for instance Azlinah et al. No, you have to, et al means friends, meaning more than one author. So you have to get all the name of the authors and get it full, because sometimes some for instance Manley, for instance, or EndNote, because just now I saw that some of you were writing whether we should use EndNote or should use Manley. So some different indexes use different way of citing these references. Some would say that they want you to write the surname. Some would say that the first name, you know, the surname you just give, you take the first capital letter and then you put a dot there. So it depends. So the best for you when you are doing this, you keep the their names as their whole name. For instance, Azlinah Muhammad, comma, Sophie Anita Abdul Muttalib, comma, Farah, you know, and so you keep the whole name. And then after that, title is important. The next one is the name of the journal, the name in where the source that you get the paper or the book, or if it is a book, the name of the publisher of the book. Yeah. Year, volume, if there is volume, issues, if there is issues. Usually year is at the end. You have a volume, journal name or book publisher and so forth, and then you have volume, issues, page. Yes, page. You have to also you must also capture the page, the paging, yeah, from what page to what page. And lastly would be the year. So please make sure that this is in your list, because when you start writing, then all this will have to use the standard, the APA standard. When you create the APA standard, you have all in full, so it's easier for you to look back and also to cite later on in your thesis. Step 7 is to develop and maintain a systematic tool for recording relevant information. You can use bibliography cards for recording relevant information for each source. In this case, if you are using already EndNote, it's very good. If you are using Mendeley, it's very good because it will help you throughout your thesis writing later on, even for your proposal. So my advice is to start using this already. Okay. Make copies of the resource pages when it contains a lot of relevant information that will help to address your research problem. Okay, now let's look at, now we engage what we have, I've given you just now. Now we are going to engage and we are going to align with a sample that, well, I identified here in this case. Okay, so we are looking at the same problem, the same title. Okay. Now, if you look at this title, for instance, I've divided this title into theory and techniques. Okay. If you look at theory, there is online signature. One of the theory is online signature. Okay. When we talk, because I'm looking at title, I'm looking at the title and I'm going to build my theoretical framework. So from there, I need to know what are the keywords that I want to create, or what are the main section in my theoretical framework, main important section. So for instance, one of it just now I've written online signature. Next to it, probably that is also important. You probably would need to look at is signature recognition system. There is so many already available. So you need to look at it. You cannot just put it aside. People are gonna ask you, have you looked at this signature recognition system? At least if you look at one or two, you can mention that this is the most current. Always remember the references that you are going to take. Please take the most current, so that you already take note of the current situation before you proceed with your own work. Okay, so signature recognition system can be one, and then you can look at the manual signature recognition methods, which is offline recognition. So this is also very important. What are the progress that has happened from what year until now in terms of manual signature recognition method? How this progress has transformed into a signature recognition system, and how does this progress has transformed into an online signature? Another theory that probably worth to mention, right, in the case of this study, for instance, is graphology. I give you a definition of graphology here. Graphology is a study, analysis of handwriting in relation to human psychology. This is scientific research. You see how it is being cited here, according to Oliver et al. That means Oliver and friends. So if you go to the references, we'll get all the names of the friends. Yeah. So you can see that he mentioned in this case, the handwriting has been studied for almost 400 years. Graphology is claimed to have the potential to recognize almost anything from understanding health issues, principles, past experiences, to hidden talents and mental disorder. So this is a scientific study being done, and you can use this as the progress of what the current technology in applying into this theory. It could be a theory that is important in this study and which is worth for you to read. You can see that it's off, right? You have online signature, and then suddenly you have a graphology. Graphology is about handwriting, right? How do you see that this will be in relation? You can only know this once you look at papers, and then you identify from the papers there are keywords. From that keywords, that's how you will expand your literature. Yeah, you expand your literature, and of course your theoretical framework. And then you will do the same if there is other theories that you want to put in your theoretical framework in relation. For instance, in this case, I give you, for instance, in relation to this particular problem, maybe there is another theory that you want to look at. Other theory is called personality theory. Maybe. So if that is relevant, then you expand that as well. And this should be shown in your theoretical framework. This will give you the papers that you require to understand. We mentioned about 50 papers. Easily this can come up more than that. Yeah. That is just about theory. Now we talk about the techniques, because remember in the title you see the patterns of all the titles that I've given you. They mention about the techniques. So now we are looking at techniques. We have general to specific. For instance, I've given you, optimization, BSO, binary. There are so many other methods that. But when we talk about so many other methods, so how many? If you don't have any question towards that, later you can ask me that question. Then we go in detail. Then you can, in techniques, you will also have to look at the basic concept. You have to show, not look at, you have to show in brief, because this is what you're going to write in your literature review. The basic concept, the extended concept. From the basic concept, you will go to the extended concept. From the extended concept, you will go to the hybrid concept, right? And then you will talk about the brief history of the method, the process that involved in the implementation of the technique. The same for other techniques. For example, you are not only looking at in some of the project that you're going to do, probably you are looking at hybrid techniques. You're looking at fuzzy and you're looking at neural network. So you have two techniques that you need to claim your understanding in the literature review. So you will do the same for other techniques that you want to add later. You will still look at the general, you look at basic concept and so forth and so forth. At the end, when you are doing this, you also will have to look at the related works. Yeah. Anybody has done on online signature, probably not about optimization, probably just, just a study of collecting information about online signature. So you have to look at the related works. Look at the similarity, record areas solved, techniques used, and its performance and accuracy. Okay. The hint here is to jot down. When you are doing this, you are getting information. All this information is important, but there will be some information that will proceed you to your work. The rest of this information is still important because you're going to put in your literature review. But what are the information that is going to proceed you with your work? You have to jot down the weaknesses and you have to compose the aim by looking at the opportunity for extension of work. Okay? Right. These are the gap analysis questions that you can ask when you are doing, when you are reading, when you are creating your theoretical framework. You have create areas of concern that you want to read. And then when the areas of concerns are giving you a branch or more notes in order for you to identify further, there are questions that probably you can ask, that you need to ask, not probably you can ask, that you need to ask. For instance, do they present one or different solutions? Is there an aspect in the field that is missing? How well do they present the material and do they portray it according to the appropriate theory? Do they reveal a trend in the field? So these are some of the questions. You can see that this question is more critical kind of questions that will lead you to critical, to actually point the weaknesses or point the opportunity in which you can proceed. And when you are doing this, you will see many. It's okay, just jot it down, and then from there you identify which one you will take and proceed. Yeah, rather than you don't have at all. Yeah. So what? And the next, probably the next, and also a question that you should be thinking as when you are reading and creating this theoretical framework is that what are the weaknesses and the limitation, yeah, of this solution that they are giving. Finally, the takeaway from this lecture that I want you to do in preparation, not only for assignment 1, and also I can see that in assignment 2 also. First is to pick up the themes to focus on the research title of your review. The second one is to create the mind map. Third is to compose aim of the study, and the fourth is to write the gap you identified. Yeah, through the questions. When you're reading it, after you have created the theoretical framework, you're reading and then you identify. So jot down this gap that you found at each of the themes that you, area of concern that you identified in your theoretical framework. Okay, so basically that's the end of my lecture. Let's go back here. Okay, let's go back here. So, all right. Is there any I have already stopped my presentation, right? Okay. Can we go to question and well, it looks like fine. I have 45 minutes. I've used about 45 minutes. But I'm open for questions from all of you. Anyone?
Prof, do you upload the video later on YouTube or anything else?
Can you see this presentation?
You mean this presentation?
Yes.
Yes, this presentation.
Okay, like what I said to you, you can identify the one that you have. Do you have any have you downloaded from the island?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So if I want to share here, I can.
No, I mean, Prof, can you record this?
I mean, Prof, you record the whole session, right? This session.
Yes.
Do you upload the session into YouTube or anything else so we can watch again later?
Oh, okay. I can do that. I can share it with all of you because I will email it to you.
Okay. Thank you, Prof.
Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Prof.
Any other question? Okay. What have you all done so far? Have you got you have got your title, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And what you need to do now is that you have to create your theoretical framework. I want to see that tree or the mind map. Okay. And then after that, the 4 things, the last thing that I give in the lecture just now. Yes. I want to see that you are able to do that before we can proceed, because after this we have to do the research objective and so forth. So without having the problem, because basically what we're going to do is identify the problem, the gaps, and try to get the most recent research. Okay?
Okay, Prof.
Any question?
No, Prof.
Everything is clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Where are you, Elliot? You have a very established studio for this. Are you at home? Where are you?
I'm in Shalam. No, I'm in Shalam. Yeah, in a rental house with Oliver.
Successful YouTuber.
That's good.
No, because the mic is not good. I had to get an external mic.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you singing?
And he can, because his mic can do that, I'm sure. Okay, but I can see only a few. I can't see, or the rest probably off their video.
Yeah, because we can see only 4 using Google Meet.
Oh ya ke?
Only 4 people only. Yeah. Yep.
Boleh lah. Aku nampak ramai.
Macam mana nampak ramai?
Pakai skrin besar.
Skrin besar nampak ramai. Saya nampak 4 je.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Wait. Let me. Before you all, while waiting for the rest, I wanted to do something here. I need to capture but it doesn't seem to work. Macam-macam cara. There's so many different.
Syarohan.
Hero Tamen.
Why am I not getting it? So sorry, wait for a while. Let me capture your attendance. How do I capture your attendance? It doesn't seem to work.
Apa dia? Baik kau nak. Tahu tak?
Okay. I don't know how I get it. I didn't get it. Siapa yang pandai capture attendance ni? Anybody? Tak pernah cuba.
Dekat list sebelah tu tak ada, doktor.
Tak ada. Tu dah
List-
duk menekan dah. Berapa banyak kali menekan ni ha?
Saya snap lah tak gambar bagi dalam grup. Boleh?
Bagus juga tu. Good idea.
Ni buat list
Baik,
lah sini.
Aslab.
Siapa yang kena pakai kepiah, pakai kepiah.
Tapi muka tak ada lah, doktor. Nama je ada.
Tak apa, tak apa. It's okay as long as ada. Nanti you hantar ke saya ya. Okay, everybody tu ni tak ada soalan ya. Okay. So, if we do our class will be every next week will be also on Tuesday at 2 to 4.
Okay.
2:10 ya. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, salam doktor.
Waalaikumsalam doktor.
Bye doktor.
Bye-bye.
See you next week.
Satu ni kau ada datang. Tangan. Dengar aku. Nak kita. Assalamualaikum. Dah makan tengah hari semua?
Belum.
Belum, aku belum makan juga.
Belum. Lagi
Aku mana pun belum.
Ada ke? Hari ni kita nak buat video. Kita nak buat review mushroom soup.
Boleh.
Rasa dalam mana?
Konsert.
Rasanya sedap.
Keluar ni. Satu kecil. Jangan habiskan data ni. Ni nak habiskan data.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Prof.
Okay, have a nice lunch. Okay, bye.
Take care.
View masuk.
Sambung review.
I'm waiting for all of you to go out. Okay, bye. Okay. Jangan membazir data.
Okay.
Okay. Alright.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah. Most welcome. Most welcome. See you.
Prof.
Thank you, bro.
Okay.
Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you.